what we're going to be doing today is examining some of the meditation advice from the Sufi Realities website. Now, I have begun to upload this individual because I felt called within, if you will, to start watching his channel because I have also been discussing meditation and have also been discussing the jinn or the archons and the role that they are playing in destroying Islamic countries and fake news on the internet, targeting Muslims. Okay, so if you want to get to know more about what I discuss, subscribe to this channel. So let's begin. I don't know how long this is going to go, but I know this is going to be somewhat of a new segment. I know that I've been spending time watching his videos, and I have 2 of his books, but he makes references to the app, but I don't do cell phones. And he makes references to the meditation teachings. And I realize that he has a lot of free information on his website. And for those of you that are going to be coming to this YouTube channel, I just ask that you also hear out my contribution, okay? Because I also discuss things that no other man does in the modern day and age. And I discuss some things that this man does not. And then, of course, he discusses a great deal of things that I do not. And so he's a great teacher. But I would say to you that in some cases, it helps to have a variety of perspectives on this Jinn Archon war on Islam and the human world in general. Okay, so let's begin to read. I don't know how long I'm going to read, but let's begin. Healing powers of Islamic meditation. Now, up until this point, throughout my whole life, I have been studying forms of meditation, and I have been collecting books on psychic self-defense. And again, the reason why I'm watching Sufi Realities is he discusses the reality of the internet, how the jinn force, how they use the internet. That's why they try to pull us into certain websites and behaviors to activate that shaitan fire within. Now, I'm not here to make any bold claims necessarily, but I do feel that I'm here to play a major role in the wake-up call, and you'll pick up on that the more you go along as you subscribe to this channel and you hear some of the things that I have to say. And there does need to be, in my opinion, an Afghan Lives Matter movement and channel and history month. And I feel that I have a calling and that there are Muslims out there and people in general that do want to hear my contribution after they've already heard from the mullahs, the pastors, Alex Jones, others. You know, I have my fingers in various pots, which is why I'm going to be cultivating various websites. But I did make the determination that the YouTube channel that you're on right now is one in which, there needs to be more focus on this. Now, I don't have my blue light glasses on, but I'm going to be making more of a regular effort to have my spiritual protection going when I get into this content. And I'll just say this briefly, then begin to read. I, at times, have felt jinn attacks from watching this person's channel, and it's not him that's doing the attacking. Not only that, my audience gets attacked by jinn forces. Some of them even report being punched, okay? But there's also a lot of unstable people too that are drawn to my channel because some of the content frightens them, fear in and of itself, and people that are limited into political systems and not spiritual can bring bad energy and stalkers and Nazis. There's Nazis that hate me, just so you know. That's why this channel exists, not in my name, okay? Because this content is not for them. All right? So, first divine order is, who do we obey? Obey God, obey the prophet, and obey those charged with authority over you. So that is from the Holy Quran, and the Holy Quran is not something that I have read. All right? O ye who believe, do your duty to God, seek the means of approach unto him. Hold tight to the rope of God, and do not separate. O ye who believe, be conscious of God, and keep the company with those who are truthful. And then my ancestor, and I don't always say his name correctly because I'm not deeply connected to my father's family. I feel like they have, I feel like they're under the influence of the jinn, even though they think they're Muslim. Their ideas are very different than this man's. They're not spiritual, okay? And, but it is said that Maz bin Jabal, that's his name of this ancestor, Maz bin Jabal said, only keep company of people that benefit you with knowledge. So a lot of us, we fall into this reality of talking to stupid people and trying to help like bad lands. And one of the things that I'm learning from this man, Nurjan, is that sometimes God is going to punish certain places and you can't help them. So I stopped. I stopped trying to help the city of my birth because they're really screwed up people. And, you know, in some cases, they'll actually try to harm you for helping. So in some cases, you know, Allah or God has a plan for them and it's not a good one. And so, you know, even though I haven't really declared myself Muslim and haven't read the Quran, I've been speaking of a certain truth organically about the sun and what the sun does to us. It's a spiritual thing created by God, but it also causes some people to rape, murder, and kill, and party and drink and drug and suicide. So this sun force, this God force, maybe you could say it burns the shaitan, but it also seems to function like one too. For people that aren't spiritual, for people that can't handle the charge, you know, they end up going crazy. They lose their head. So I provide on my platform also, my main platform included, which is not this one, guided meditations to help one calm themselves. Okay, the seeker must accompany a spiritual master and must keep his heart to be present with his teacher at all times, whether in person or at a distance. That builds God consciousness. Okay. Now, I didn't necessarily, I've been called the P word because I've discussed things before they happen. Okay. So, like, some of these concepts are new to me, but I do believe that we can share our light with others on the internet, and that's what this sheik is doing. And while I'm not perfect and I have certain sins, I bet he has a few himself. I am a person who is constantly sharing his light with others on the internet and certain ideas that no one's been exposed to yet. And I'm creating websites here locally in the name of the city in which I live, but not using my name or showing my face. And I'm going to spread my light and truth locally in the city in a way that no human is doing. And so I'm going to take the advice of this and attempt to watch at least 3 videos from him every week after drifting out of watching, because it helps me also understand when I'm slandered and attacked by Nazis to understand that we are tested. I don't feel that these spiritual teachings were brought to me as a child by either my mother or my father. And I also believe that they can benefit from this man's teachings. My father claims to be a Sufi. This podcast is not about him. And in my dealings with him and sharing with him a book that I wrote about the changes in the sun, his nafs, his waswas, his allegiance to the Dajjal system as a translator overseas. He probably has witnessed war crimes. He is so obsessed with worship of the Dajjal system, in my opinion, higher education, things of that nature. He even has worked in higher education. And yet so much of Western education is submissive to the Zionist system, to Israel. And what are they doing to Palestine? And so you have a lot of, here's my point here, a lot of people like my father and others that act like they're good Muslims, but they're actually financially wrapped in with systems that oppress Muslims worldwide. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's more examples I can give you, but I'm going to drip this out slowly. I feel like God is showing me many, 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 many bad Muslims. And many of the followers, some of them, from Sufi Realities, lack manners and respect for other forms of Islamic life. Okay, and so while I will learn from him, and open up my heart. The one thing that I need to communicate with you is this. I believe that God has charged some of us as souls, as beings, whatever you want to call yourself, myself, with certain tasks as teachers. And thou shalt not kill is a big part of that. And it's in the Quran that you shouldn't harm Muslims and you shouldn't oppress Muslims. But there's plenty of Muslims that are silent about the oppression of other Muslims. And even if God is allowing it, it's still your job to say, stop killing those people. And certainly don't blame people that didn't commit the 9/11 attacks. Don't blame innocent people for that. And just so you know, I got my start in this, I want to call it business, but online in the Western world, exposing the truth about that day that it wasn't committed by Muslims. Now, okay, you speak like that out in the open, bad things can happen in your life. And so, Sufi Realities is successful as a businessman because he stays away from controversy. I jump into the fire of controversy. I walk on the fire of the coals, Sufi style. So I highly encourage you to subscribe to me and reach out to me via email. So let's continue reading. Obey God, obey the prophets, and obey those charged with authority over you. Hold tight to the rope of God and do not separate. O ye who believe, fear God and keep the company of those who are truthful. And I remember saying to a man who I was drinking alcohol with in the forest that we should fear God, and then he mocked me. I'm going to tell you short stories here and there. So you get like a different perspective other than Sufi realities and other than what's in the Quran. Because I am a modern day teacher of a lot of unknown truths. It would be interesting if I and Sufi realities were to have an interesting conversation. I'll send an interview request at some point. But when you are Muslim or of a heritage of certain regions that are dominant Muslim, and you have the appearance of an Arab, and you're drinking alcohol, and you're dealing with Viking white men that don't like God or spiritual things, that are angry with God and the fact that they're here on the planet, that are not trying to raise themselves to a higher voltage, hanging out with people like that in off-grid areas around the fire is not going to bring you good energy. And doing that, things are going to come out of their mouths. And then by being of a different type of genetic type, if you make YouTube videos, you will have people stalking you, collecting information on you, but they will ignore the spiritual teachings. And it's just amazing how you can make videos and they will do analysis and transcripts on every word said and do analysis on the pixels and everything that's featured in the video. And then use different software programs to run analysis. Where is this? Where is this? Where is this? Where is this? But when it comes to the spiritual stuff, at what point is it going to stick? Continue reading. Because a person, as David Icke said, cannot unhear something. And so my intention is to do good. And it is to not promote criminal behavior and do as thou wilt. That is the opposite of the Sufi way. And I consider myself, first and foremost, to be a Gnostic Sufi, truly. And he uses this terminology and the terminology of the archons. And so there is so much in common between me and this man. I will continue to play his videos. In fact, I may even write a book complimenting this man. In fact, if I could meet him and come to his place and interview him, I'd fly to Los Angeles. All right, let's continue. And now I'm going into the region of the nafs. But yes, we should be humble. As he says before the sheikh, I have a question about this. Maybe you can answer if you're a listener. When he says, I am nothing, yes, we should say, I am nothing, but you also need to understand that we are something too. And many Muslims, I really do believe that many Muslims are nothing because they're not saying jack. They're not educating Muslims and non-Muslims. And many Muslims, they like to hang around their own people. They like to hang around their own people only. And they don't want to talk to non-Muslims. And yet they're in non-Muslims' lands getting money and bread from non-Muslim people. You understand what I'm saying? Refugee funds. You should respect the land and the people that you're going to, especially if you're talking to a descendant of Maz bin Jabal at the grocery store. And many of the Muslims coming into America now in this region are rude and disrespectful. And there were some rude, disrespectful comments left where I explained the situation. So there are bad Muslims that are posers. I never really knew this. I just let them be on their way, and Sufi Realities discusses this, and Sufi Realities is disliked by a Muslim that watches my channel who likes the Taliban. And if you know anything about the Taliban, they oppress men, women, and children in Afghanistan, the country of my father's birth. So we will have an Afghan History Month channel coming, and you will know the truth about the suppression of my people. I hope one day the Sheikh begins to discuss Afghanistan and the horrible things that the dark side of Pakistan has done. There needs to be healing between myself and people from Pakistan. If you believe in God, you need to acknowledge that the dark side of the shadow government brought you September 11th, not the Afghan people. You need to keep this in your heart at all times. If you are to have any light in your heart, do you understand me? Now, I have been speaking about the truth that Muslims did not do 9/11 for years, and yet I have only an Anglo-Saxon Celtic audience, and these white women cannot have love. Go ahead, unsub now. I want to see it. In the name of Jesus, get lost, scumbag. They can only love their own people. They are allergic to the realities of the new Nazism being called out. They hate it, and they hate me. That's why these women, these white women, refuse to support me, and they're not in the comment section. They are not on the right side. They do not support me exposing the human trafficking and rape, because many of them covet kink fetishes. And I told them over and over, that's okay. Many men do too. There's one thing to have your kink, but it's another to not even have remorse or compassion for other women that are getting kidnapped and stuffed in trucks. And it's happening. And I can predict it's happening because I am not nothing. I am more than nothing. I see inside the mind of the predator, inside the mind of the Dajjal. Now, I don't know how or why, but some of us, we know what the plans are. We know stuff's coming this year and in 2025, a year that I've warned about for many years. And so it is difficult for me to not go into a rant when I go into like a mode of speaking and explaining where I'm coming from. But I want those of you that are going to land on this channel who follow this man to give me a chance to reach out to me via email as you reach out to him, and then to also obtain my book if you want to support me financially. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Insan Kamal Oneness. O mankind, fear your Lord who created you from one soul and created it from mate and dispersed it from both of them, many men and women. Who created you from one soul and created it and dispersed it. So I also have thought about this for a long, long time. We as humans are like micro fractal, like shard glass of like a large soul collective. We're connected. And the reason I'm not uploading to my main YouTube channel of 20,000 is a lot of Anglo-Saxons, a lot of our people are stuck in darkness and they don't want unity. They want war. And it's ironic that they want war. They're going along with war, but they don't want to learn about the connection between the solar flares and war, which is my specialty. And when I stand up for refugees and Muslims, I'm booted off national radio. I'm booted off national radio. It happened. It happened. It happened. And this is what the shaitan will do to a spiritual man who's speaking to the world from a motel room from this place that I live in, which is not a good town. But I'm trying to meet some good women and men, but they're not here. They really seem to have left the earth. Maybe we are left behind. Maybe we are left behind. But I remember even writing to my father and having a typo in the email, but the typo in the email seemed to be maybe appropriate. I'm trying to save our soul. I was trying to say your soul. I'm trying to help my father become spiritual. I've sent my fake Muslim father this man's channel. Maybe I'll send him this video. Let's pray for my father now. That's it. Pray for my father now. For my father, I will not tell you his sins. He's coveting his sins and he's done wrong. okay? And he has put, in my opinion, the system of higher education which harms Muslims above God. So pray for him, folks, because according to religious belief, possibly Islamic, the sins of the father, you know where I'm going with this? I'm fighting for a number of reasons. Fighting against Satan, exposing the controllers, exposing the fact that many events blamed on Muslims are not being committed by Muslims. This is the ultimate deception. And if he was to speak like that literally, maybe he would not be so popular. Now, I will tell you, I felt called in spirit to Google the term Sufism and jinn, and that's how I came up with this guy's videos. I already knew about the term jinn and read books on jinn and have tried to, even though, like, I am interpreted and perceived by some Muslims to be Muslim by the way that I talk and my values. And when it comes to, sexual values, food, other things, there are certain practices that I have that are part of my nature and part of my organic makeup. It's who I am. It's only now, do you understand? Do you understand? It's only now at 44 that I'm coming to this man's website and I'm going, this guy thinks like me. What else does he have for me? And here we are today, folks. Welcome to my magic carpet ride. There are Sufis in my ancestry, and they lived lives of hardship. And so did my grandfather, who was alive in the old country when Russia invaded and killed 2 to 3 million. The story of the oppression of those people and the conspiracy of the Western powers, Russia, China, United States, Israel, other governments, to conspire to commit genocide, and then for people, due to this hate of the people, to attach themselves to me, without even realizing that they're not even actually going after Muslims, refugees, people trying to build a mosque. They're just attracted to somebody's light, not attracted. They become aware of someone's light and they create interference because they're working on behalf of Shaitan or the devil. Even if in their mind they're not doing that and they think in their mind that they're of God, you will know them by their actions and their energy. And there are many Muslims that I knew this for years, but I never knew about Sufi realities. I never knew about the spiritual side of Islam. I knew, though, in my heart that if there was a spiritual side of Islam, that my father and his brother, they were not Muslim, and that there are aspects of the Islamic culture that don't seem spiritual at all. And same thing with Christianity. With Christianity, it's constantly like, do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And on the radio here, they do a lot of that, but they don't actually talk about the teachings. It's similar with some Muslims and maybe their obsessions with speaking Arabic and certain rituals. Now, I was not raised around kind immigrants, and I wasn't raised around immigrants to begin with, and I just lived around them for a few years in 1996 on the East Coast. Very angry people, alcoholics, mean women, lots of cigarettes. So they don't see anything wrong with polluting their bodies with toxins. That's halal to them. And so, what I will tell you is that it's very clear to me now that Muslims are not on the same page with regards to meditation and spirituality. And I have met Muslims that helped me, that gave me a ride, that said that meditation was of the devil, was evil. There's nowhere on this website that says that meditation is evil and brings in shaitan. But, if you just meditate and you leave out God, oh yeah, oh yeah. I believe there is such a thing as evil psychics. So I'm going to give you lots of truth here. I'm going to keep reading together. Okay. So I'm going to create some balance here. Now, to know yourself is to know your Lord. Spread the light and love of the most praised one, most honored one in divinely presence, Sayyidina Wadamaria Muhammad. Now, due to the fact that I live in America and September 11th, the inside job, I'm not familiar with a lot of spirituality regarding the prophet. I'm only like aware of like hatred, like Quran book burning, him being called, expletive, expletive, expletive. And so I don't really have a deep dive understanding of the spiritual story of him and my ancestor who rode with him. You know what I mean? So my blood rode with him. And yet at the same time, I have been called the P word because I am warning of the Russia-China attack on America, and I started doing it 20 years ago. And if you want more info, reach out to me directly. But Shaitan has convinced the Western world to murder Muslims to then do things to the Western world. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Do you understand? And I'm not saying that we should participate in the murders either. I guess I don't know how to tell you this. I guess I'm willing to be murdered for my beliefs, to be a peaceful activist against darkness. And that's why people that don the dark hood, that's why people that practice Satanism and harming others and witchcraft, some of them have a healthy obsession with me and they refuse to learn another way, what to do with their time. There may be lockdowns coming. What are you going to do with your time? Are you going to play Call of Duty, or are you going to go into your heart and try to connect with your God or the God, our God? Step one, how to do Islamic Sufi meditation. Click here. Step two, energy practices and healing meditations. So we're just going to go over this, and then I'm just going to talk about what's coming to mind. What's coming to mind is I need to continue to, and I got on this path about a year ago, surround myself with spiritual symbols, and I may be shopping at this person's store. Okay. Now, if you want to donate, I don't get many donations, but when I do in the past, I've purchased THC. I'm going to be purchasing some clothing and medallions from this website, but I won't be spending top dollar. I'm very frugal, and I like to paint my own symbols. I am focused a lot on 7, maybe obsessed. Others are too, on the 777. I have a lot of numbers hitting me a lot. I say it a lot. The 144 is hitting me a lot, and that adds up to 9. And here we see 9 points mentioned here. Angelic realities, step 3. So I'm going to have to take time to read all this. So we're obviously going to start with step 1. So the idea that he's proposing here is that you're connecting basically with the spiritual teacher, a sheikh, and that energy is going from their heart into the student. And this is happening automatically on YouTube. There is already a connection between the speaker and the audience. But if you're going to be talking about controversial topics, you're going to draw to you observational forces of darkness, usually not of the light. I've been trying to get people of the light observation coming into my field. There are some, the tide may be turning, but we're actually about to go into a period of great darkness. So those of us that contain light within our heart, we come under attack. And it's done in a way, in a cowardly way, by people that won't face us in person. Not that we want war with them, but we know when you speak to someone and you meet someone, it's a little harder to treat them like an expletive, unless you are a generally bad person. It's a lot easier through comment sections to throw a jab at someone when they're down, because people get the shaitan within them makes them feel pleasure. There's a brain chemistry going on. It's not just the dopamine. There's various words to describe this pleasure center in the brain. But in the same way that some women like bad men that beat them physically and they never leave them, it's like they have that dopamine push. Some people also, they get that dopamine push when they comment on other people's work because they're trying to assault their confidence so that their light is not shown, so that others won't grow. And they themselves as an individual do not benefit from that devilish satanic behavior. The evil that controls them benefits. They do not benefit. They just get the microsecond of pleasure in the brain because they don't have a Christ consciousness within them to say what you are doing is wrong. It is wrong to murder innocent people. It is wrong to stalk innocent people. It is wrong to kidnap women. But I'm going to stop from saying, though, that maybe people that kidnap women should be expletive, harmed in a physical way. I think that when it comes to physical punishment in a godly way, now I'm speaking from the heart, and I'm not reading from the website, I'm speaking from the heart, it should be minimal force necessary, and all murderers and would-be murderers and slanderers of the children of the people of God, they have eternal hell fire waiting for them, and they will not be removed from the hellfire until they repent and change their ways. It's to repent, say sorry for your actions, and then begin to change from the heart the circumstances that led to getting in that cage to begin with. Yeah, this video tonight's going out to the... So what I want to mention is that I was very flattered because Muslim women usually treat me with prejudice and hatred. I'm not messing around, and especially my father's family. They are not kind to me for standing up against atrocities towards Muslims. And I'm going to be writing a book about my life as a half Anglo, half white, half, this person, father from the Middle East, from that country, who has been ignored by Muslims, and that's not okay. Your book does not allow you to persecute Muslims or turn your back on Muslims that are persecuted. And there's a lot of belief systems that I have, they're in line with Islam, but it's not the orthodox stuff. It's this stuff. It's this guy. And when you read my book and when you give me a chance, you'll see I'm way deeper than him on the specifics of what the son is doing. He just speaks in a general way. And so this woman seemed to admire really large men, and that is a shaitan thing, to really worship large men. I understand that women want to be safe, but we were manipulated by other forces. God created us, but we have been manipulated by Anunnaki forces. And that's where the giant program, where women in this culture worship giant men. It's a sexual thing. It doesn't mean that tall men should be ignored or something if women are deemed to be, conscious. And that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the obsession with throwing short men away, whether it be a mother, whether it be a woman. And mothers are very, very also tapped into the shaitan way of judging a man. And so when a man who becomes possessed by a shaitan, like my father, who beat my mother, when he became possessed by the alcohol, and that was definitely a jinn force because I was in the womb. And so the horrible things that some supposed Muslim men do to women is harming the babies. Abuse in Muslim families must be addressed. They refuse to address it. The women refuse to address the abuse from Muslim men like my father, who watches horrible, horrible, violent pornography. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like one woman with multiple men on a VHS tape in 1988, like real disgusting stuff. Although you and I may not, people may find that stuff great now, but when you're a child, you're not expected to see that stuff. So what I'm telling you is, there is along with some Christians, they worship, I think, the idea of someone in control of the family. So what we're really dealing with aren't really Muslim families, but jinn families. They worship money, status, military, higher education, police, abuse, beatings, rape. I don't know if my father has gone down that path, but we know that they have done these things to Muslims, innocent Muslims, the military. Not all of them. Not all of them. We also know horrible things could be coming later to white people regarding rape, and I've been warning them of that for over 20 years. And they allowed me to live in the streets. And they ignored me when I stood up for white off-gridders being kicked off their land. And people still said horrible things about me to cause me hardship and pain. Constantly looking away from all the good deeds that I tried to do. This is a good picture. And so I've had dreams, I guess, where I've seen him, or the sheik. So I guess my question is he a sheik? Is he basically suggesting that we connect to him? And would that be seen as narcissistic? And if your answer to that question is no, do you understand that I am being abused if I want to be a spiritual teacher? I'm being abused right now. I'm being abused. I'm being abused by a man who is a neo-Nazi. Not the second, but he monitors all my activities that I make public. And he scrutinizes my behavior. And the deeper I try to go spiritually in exposing that which controls his brain, he might even be chipped by the reptilians or the Greys. You understand what I'm saying? And some of you agree that are in this audience that there is something fundamentally wrong with some of the hateful people right now that should be more focused on their lives. You should be gathering data on preparedness. You should be gathering data on health. You should be gathering data on supplements to override this shaitan influence. Now, I don't understand the spiritual significance of the cube, and I am suspicious of the direction that many Muslims are going on. But if he wants to explain it, what it represents, then I will hear him out. There are only a few spiritual teachers that I consider, and I do promote them in combination to others. If you want to follow my path, because I am a teacher also, I do project also light through my eyes, through my hands, through my heart, even through my feet, even through other areas also, but we try to keep it clean here. We have a chakra system, and I stopped clearing out my chakra system for a year and a half and ended up on pharmaceuticals and quit pot. Now I'm quitting pot again. Don't take pharmaceuticals and take up to 8 or 9 supplements, from ginkgo biloba to ashwagandha to 2 different types of magnesium to whey protein to creatine to a GNC multivitamin. And yesterday, like, my heart is so strong now, my physical strength is going up. My physical strength is going up. And so today I went to the and I do a certain form of martial arts and circular motion. Subscribe or email me and ask me for information. But it does seem that it is, because I also am part Indian. And on the white side, there's some interesting things there. But I don't know if there's martial arts on the Anglo side. Boxing, yeah, probably. My grandpa wanted me to be a boxer and not a kicker. My punching today was straight punching, no weights. Punch, punch, boom, boom. Very focused, hard punches, and then break for seconds. And so I'm meditating, I'm praying, I'm bringing in the chi, I'm bringing in the God force. I'm centering in the heart. I'm doing qigong. I'm sitting under the sun without my shirt. I'm realizing that when I'm punching, it's not my muscles, it's energy. It's energy. Now, when I was attacked by Shaitan, when I went on national radio and I said not all refugees are, expletives, and they kicked me off the radio early, although that might not have been the main reason, but I feel it was a reason. They said, don't warn about Russia. Don't warn about Russia. Well, I did. The phone call wouldn't come through. They were interfering the phone lines. You understand what I'm saying? And the people were calling the cops on me, the immigrants that worked at the hotel, and I was defending immigrants. You see how Shaitan tried to break my heart and blow my light out? And then I went to the gym angry and punched the bag, and my trapezoid, my muscles on my shoulders, got pulled. And so I was in pain for days until my neck muscles built themselves back up. So now I can slam and punch that bag, uppercut, hook, cross, bam, step in, backhand, bam, 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 side kick, powerful blows on a bag so heavy, I thought it was 200 pounds. It turns out it's only 100 or 125. Really long, yellow bag, professional bag. But I go boom, 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 big time stress reliever. Then I go in the yoga room with the mirrors and punch with weights until I'm fatigued. And don't do regular cardio, don't do, weights, but just striking. And then go in the sauna. And in the sauna, I sit and I pour, the rain just comes down. The sweat just comes. I went to the Goodwill and I say to the universe, now I need this, God. Now I need this discounted food. And I go to the store and there it is. But now I say, now I need a good woman that I can protect and love and hold at the park. Like family, like familia. That's what I want. And I'm asking God for the one. Someone who I can teach, someone who I can love, someone who I can cook healthy, nutritious food with, who I can pray over the food with. Just like Subject F, who I loved once. I should not be discussing her here. Shaitan will bring to a spiritual man a beautiful woman, and they will have sex, and she will break his heart. And that is why she offered her mouth to him. That's why she offered her vagina to him. Was to offer that, make that connection, make that familia energy practice, and then to leave him on the side of the road hanging as if he did something wrong because he said he loved her. This is not the time to share my life story, but within that life story, there are many, 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 many things that I learned about life. And I'm going to be a teacher of young girls and young boys. I'm going to write the books for children, and I'm going to educate parents about what they don't know about the future of their children. I may or may not be gifted by God to have a child, but God may not want me duplicating my DNA. I may be the last stop for an infinite unknown number of humans having sex, dying, and becoming compost until there was one, until there was you, until there was me. And I believe God has a plan for you and me, and God will keep away, though, the bad people, and Shaitan, though, will try to keep bringing them to us. And you need to understand, like taking a shower, it's a regular thing. You need to take a shower on a daily basis in order to maintain your hygiene. You need to maintain your awareness and discernment. And on that note, I came under tremendous attack in the past when I lived in nature without a shower and a toilet. So they say cleanliness is godliness. What happened to me during that period of living without a toilet and living without a shower was I was cursed with black magic, and that curse has now been lifted and has now been broken. But for a while there, I was concerned. Keep the company of those who are truthful. And what have I been doing for over 10 years? Exposing right-wing disinformation, and no left-winger will thank me. I've also exposed the dark side of the woke movement, blaming white people for white supremacy when those are not the same discussions. People still will unsubscribe to me if I make one single statement against racism or white supremacy. But people from the left or the woke movement will never, or Hispanics, will never come to me and my channel yet, but I'd like that to start, and say thank you for exposing the atrocities happening to our people. Furthermore, there is probably a deeper truth to what is happening at the border with regards to Mexico. If you have a deeper truth regarding the value of Latina and Latino lives, and that there's disinformation, and that there is manipulation of the Mexican government, and there is probably a dark side control over these cartels. If not government, certainly archonic jinn. Some say Santeria. Several days ago, chickens were found dead in the streets of New York. Reflective thinking for 1 hour is better than 70 years of super erogatory worship. That is a new term. Okay, so we're going to go through this. Step 1, how to do Islamic meditation, and then we're just going to call it quits. I'm going to just leave you the link to this and take a couple deep breaths before we conclude. But I am combining these concepts with also Vipassana meditation. For those of you interested in another teacher, that would be S.N. Goenka. Or for those that know where to go to my main page, you can go to my main page and watch the Goenka videos that I posted yesterday. Okay, so I have not studied Sufi Realties meditation. I have studied grounding meditation, shielding meditation, and various meditations, but I have never clicked here. So I am familiar with this term Merkaba. I am familiar with the idea of visualizing the Merkaba shape around your body. It is popularized by a guy named Drunvalo Mokadievek, who has been somewhat of a New Age teacher of the 1980s and 90s. I don't think that all people labeled New Age are full of garbly goo, but some make mighty bold claims. Let me just tell you this right now, okay? There is some sort of an energy shift happening with the sun and happening within our universe that's affecting the sun. That's affecting other things like a supernova. This is potentially some God force, but it is a force of energy. Not going to talk about it long today, but this energy force they use against us. They create world events. They often blame the Muslims for events, or they take over people that claim to be Muslims and they go on knife attacks, but they're not really Muslim. Sufi Realties was speaking of this in a recent video. Okay. So this is something that you're going to want to do on your own. But I'm just going to go ahead and just read a couple words here. I'm not familiar with the voodoo reference. Make fresh voodoo, but cleanliness is close to godliness. Secret of the voodoo, ablution, and the power of the hands. And so I mentioned earlier circular motion. I do a certain exercise, okay? And some of the exercises, it's traditional Tai Chi and Qigong. Then some of it's a little bit Aikido, but it has to do with the power of the hands. And in fact, I have a book right here, and it is about the power of the hands, the healing power of the hands. So we will go ahead and take a quick look. Lots of content on this website. His books aren't cheap, but with all this free content on the website, it's worth it. Okay. Now, I'm programmed by this society that's been murdering Muslims to not use the A word for God, and, right, which is in my heritage, right? So why should I add in someone else's racial heritage when I have a certain heritage and religious tradition, right? However, many that call God Allah, as I said earlier, are not serving God. They're actually serving a fake God. Even though the Dajjal isn't necessarily here yet, the Dajjal energy, frequency, and personalities, they are all around us. Let me say one more thing. This internet thing is a portal. When you're on your laptop or computer, there's energies going back and forth, especially if you choose to watch, sexy things. You mix sexy things and sexy content with spiritual content, yeah, your computer might do some weird stuff. And then again, maybe God does allow us some permissible activities, but I am not here to promote those activities, but to say that I do believe that it is shaitan, that it is an evil force that ultimately isolates the godly man from a godly woman and constantly brings to him the wrong woman who will easily spread her, and will easily get down on, in order to, and science now tells us, they get the DNA when they do that, through that fornication. They get access on the godly man that they're banging. So that the demons that control that ungodly, dirty woman who sleeps with too many men, that man can then be astrally attacked. Do you understand? Allah trusted the prophet with whatever he created, and whatever he created was released to the prophet's message. So through Allah's message, prophet was able to reach every person, but in his time and after his time, he was the first one who taught Sabah the use of energy and what is available of different powers around us in this world. By speaking the way that I'm speaking, and you can do it too, and it's free. You can tap into the spiritual energy, be it in your head, your hands, or whatever. Now, I don't necessarily do like certain religious traditions, like the rosary beads. I think that this is in multiple traditions, the beads, right? and the bracelets. So this is something that I've been coming closer to. The crystals, the necklaces, the symbols, the Bible in the car, the altar. I have a little video of my altar on my channel. You can see the different. I used to have a portal to the jinn world on my altar last year. Till one day I typed in, as I said, Sufism and jinn, and then 1 month's time, 2 months' time, I take that TV with both hands and put it on the ground without even knowing where it's going to go. I just know you are now being devalued. And then I began to put books of value above that. And while I don't have a Quran, close thing to it, I have Sufi Realties books, and I'm on his website now. But I have the Bible, and it was given to me by a black Christian who called me a prophet. She ran from me, though, when I told her, maybe too much and certain sins that I've tried to rise above, looking at dirty women. The other thing that I want to tell you about the deceptions in the porn websites is that they're featuring, okay, I'm human, you're human. They're featuring AI now. Basically, this is about getting men to pleasure themselves to demons. But of course, this you figured out on your own, right? You didn't need me to tell you. So this is what it's about. You heard me. Those of you that listened to me for years. Many men in the future are going to be deceived. They're going to be deceiving them through the male sperm. They're going to be deceiving not just the female and the female egg and creating a new race. Okay? Because, yeah, this is Shaitan. This is not paradise. This is they're turning this into hell. Okay? They're turning this world into hell. And they're going to be massacring many, many, many Muslims between now and 2100. Okay? You're getting prophecy here. Okay? Yeah, there will be much, much rape and kidnapping of the white woman. Doesn't mean this is good. This is a bad thing. I'm a son of a white woman. This is a bad thing. But the force of darkness are going to act like what is happening to America and American women is okay because of what they did to others. And unfortunately, this is Shaitan's way. Because the jinn, as you hear from Sufi Realties, and I've been saying for years, these archonic forces, they live and they live and they live for long periods of time, thousands of years. So they have like plans and agendas that are like carefully sought out and executed. Whereas the humans on the ground with short lifespans, they can't even conceive of such a reality. And anyone that can conceive of such a reality to the humans under Shaitan's control, they kill those humans. They stalk those humans. They don't even know why they're stalking those humans and preparing, but you need to wake up because the devil will reward financially many of us in this physical plane if we follow the way of the stalker, of the harmer. And now there's so many software tools to do analysis and to harm someone, and AI will even give you ideas on how to murder and torture a human being. This came out in the news last year also. This information that I read was the information that touched my soul in an intimate way and brought me back to you. I didn't have to come back. You know I'm not doing this for money. I am literally on a spiritual path. And that's why I went to certain off-grid areas, because those are magical places. That's the real reason why some people have their eyes on that place. And the real reason why they have their eyes on some of those people is because those people are not of God. Those people that touch the kids in the butthole, those people that do the little things down there in that county, they're not of God. They hate godly things and they hate godly people. And so they've been driven mad in regular society. They can't function around any godly people. They have to be in the desert where they're alone. They cannot be around any goodness. And if any good person tries to move around them, they will begin to stalk them. And possibly for the rest of that person's life. And so, when you hear me talk about creating new platforms, leaving this platform, it's about creating distance between myself and people that are observing without love. We need love, folks. We need unity. We need compassion. We need a true inclusive movement of freedom. And we don't have it in the woke movement. Okay, all right. And what is available of different powers around us in this world. There are many ways that the prophet has shown us to heal, one of which is described in the hadith of the blind man who asked the prophet to restore his sight. You know, 1 month ago, I stepped on a slug and I felt so bad that I thought that I killed that slug. And I got down on my hands and knees and I put my hands over the slug and I attempted to bring it back to life as if I was him. And I don't hear voices inside, I get instructions. And it was to pick it up and put it in water. And it was moving around in 10 minutes. And I let it sit on my hand as it came back to life. And I'm not saying I resurrected it. We all know likely I didn't kill it, that it was squished. But I'm telling you that I was in that state of consciousness. And I have literally put my hands on old women about to die that watched my show in Portland where I stood up for the little man, the small guy, the person that worked hard their whole life and now they're living in Portland and it's turned into a shithole because of the people that control it. And I was right about Portland. And I was right about a lot of people. Unfortunately, racists don't get better, they get worse. And women don't thank me for exposing human trafficking. Now, we don't have a fighting chance of overriding God's wrath until those things change. He said to the blind man, the first step is to go to the ablution area to make ablution. It means the opening and the cure for every sickness. If you don't have ablution, your effort to cure that disease will be minimal. Okay. The constant hate that we are told to throw at this prophet is pretty disturbing. The way in which people will reject and unfriend and dislike and unsubscribe from an individual if they're even willing to investigate the spiritual side of a religion is horrifying, and it's not a sign of any consciousness whatsoever. And for women to only be drawn to the orthodox version of Islam that robs them of their freedom, and to be drawn to abusive Islamic families and to throw out in the street or to insult Sufi leading Muslims, and I bet some of you listening have some stories for me. I'm going to ask you contact me and that you start following through with the emails. And then I can share some of your stories. But I was horrified to see the white Muslim brag about never facing racism when she is not of a demographic, although there are people that do hate white people, that does happen. But to brag about not having faced racism, you know, it's good that you're not facing racism, but it was clear that she didn't have empathy, and that as great as it's not Sufi Realities' fault, then if his audience has members in it that are highly uneducated and they don't want to learn and be empathetic. And it's amazing how many out there are rushing to, you know, be someone's new friend, a potential husband or wife, but they don't even know the first thing about being loving. And yet they say they're Muslim. You know what I mean? Or Christian or Jewish. Oh boy. There's lots of Jews now that are siding with the Nazis while saying constantly the Arabs are the new Nazis. Even if that's the case, you don't want to actually join in with Nazis just to accuse the Arabs of being Nazis. And so they're turning many Arabs and Jews into hateful people when they should be exposed in the system, not sitting on their ass and doing nothing but playing video games. And that's what's happened. I don't support you playing video games, just so you know. Now, if you're familiar or aware of a spiritual video game that will help take us to paradise, let me know its name and what I can learn from this game. I don't even want to mess with the apps from Sufi Realities, but tell me in the comment section and let me get a like. If the apps are good, I will use it. I will use it and maybe use the cell phone. But honestly, when I go to the sauna and I want to sweat out and slay my inner shaitan every day, just kick its ass. Just lock it up. Take that, biatch. I look around these people with their cell phones. It's like, do they not realize that that causes mental illness and psychosis? And the whole thing of the sauna is about being healthy. Let's continue reading. Wherever you are reaching high levels of struggling against the ego and preventing the desires of the ego, using that power when you contract the ego, building the power more and more. When the negative energy goes away from you, the positive energy increases. I'm feeling really good doing this right now. And I'm also holding coral. You know what coral is? And I also gave my mother, when she visited, although we didn't have a great visit, but I was on drugs and she was warned in advance, but wanted the trip anyways, for personal reasons. My advice is to visit when people are drug free and when they are energetically giving you the thumbs up. That's when the magic happens, when they want to visit. It's going to be seen as suspicious if someone doesn't want to visit you later when you want to visit them. Does that make sense? It will be perceived as a shaitan trick if they only want to visit you when you're sick and highly damaged. However, we did have a photograph taken together, which I am not making public at present, but will in the future. In the future. Absolutely. And you could see subtly, maybe even the pain and misery in both our faces if you're a sensitive. And how we're actually trying to hide it and smile for the camera. Just smile for the camera. But inside is the pain. The pain that no horse petting or animal petting can take away. Only the pain of a palm on the heart, not literally inside like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, but on the outside. And that's what's missing from the women of this society, a willingness to touch the heart. Too quick, it's going for the penis or the mouth of the penis, and too few times the hand is going on the heart. And the other main place where the hand needs to go, especially a female loving hand with energy, remember, left hand receives, right hand sends. With the proper tools at a local store, you can get massage tools. A woman who loves a man should want to heal him of damage to his back. And a lot of us hold damage and trauma in our back. And so if you have fornicated with men or women and they've never wanted to touch you, hold you, hug you, or massage you, but they only wanted to bang you. Newsflash, sunshine, that person was there to fuck your life up and to get a cord on with you. They didn't love you. They didn't like you. There was something else going on with their harvesting of your loosh. Real romance, real humans, they touch. Real mothers, real sons, real fathers, real daughters, they heal the past. They meditate together on the phone. When they say, I love you, they mean it. They really, really do. And it's unconditional. When people have conditional love and they say, I love you, in order to get you to say, I love you back on the phone, they're playing a manipulation of energy. Do not feed that beast. And explain it to them. Explain to them what love is and what love is not. Love is not throwing gifts at someone when you abused them. And then telling them, here, now you do what I say you do with the money. You understand, little boy? You understand me? When they themselves had, and so we literally are souls at war with each other in reality on a grand scale who are hallucinating these titles: mother, father, son, daughter. These are hallucinations. The deeper nature of our relationship is a far deeper and much more interesting mystery, wouldn't you say? But perhaps I'm making you dizzy. Kind of like Morpheus saying to Neo, huh, really? You think those noodles that you're fantasizing about are real? Interesting. Now, wherever you are reaching high levels of struggling against the ego and preventing the desires of the ego, using that power, I guess we're reading this again, when you contract that ego, building the power more and more, when the negative energy goes away from you, the positive energy increases. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm not going to be leading with my name, my surname, or my ego. When I go out and I help people, when I go out and I create a website or a Substack for free, and I make podcasts for free, and I upload content for free that people can listen to for free, and they don't even know my name and they can't even praise me, they're adding to my spiritual currency. And the next thing is what I'm going to tell you is that I do believe that there is something called a demon currency. That many humans on the earth right now, they are working on behalf of a demon currency, the afterlife. They want to get paid by the devil for the shit that they did, right? And so a lot of things come to me intuitively. A lot of humans, a lot of humans have yet to break their contract with the devil. And a lot of humans came into, I'm not going to say names because that would really concern them to know I'm talking about them, but they know who they are. A lot of people that won't help me, that won't write the book that I'm asking them to write, I suspect that they did make a deal with the devil to either do what they did to me or to others, other men and women, people whose arms they broke or people who they fucked and hearts they broke, people who they half raised and threw away. A lot of these are missions, military style for the devil. They're incarnated, they get the child, and they have a mission to fuck up that child to a point where that child destroys their life and others. Okay? And if they fail that mission, that would be one in which that child becomes successful, spiritual. Then that makes those parents actually failures to that shaitan or devil that hired them. To those of you that saw Maya get angry at his daughters when their daughters failed to tempt the little Buddha towards lust, it might be like that. Like screaming and grabbing, Satan grabbing his daughters and throwing them into the fire just with a rage. Making deals with the devil to be a popular dancer, bouncer, manager, waiter, a stripper, a world-class traveling prostitute that travels the world to sleep with powerful men. Like, these are not healthy things. People that are duped to moving into the ivory towers in the 1990s and 2000s, they created so much free rent. And it was all done under the guise of having compassion. No, it wasn't. This whole thing about the free rent is about dividing families. Otherwise, there would be family housing. And it would be promoted. And it wouldn't be, oh, you're not the right race. You have to be black in this city to get Section 8 housing, right? No, 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 no. That's also racism, especially when you're not actually helping the most disenfranchised. But black people are very disenfranchised. But things are changing. But we are still under the same sun of oppression. And so if one is to go truly off grid of this prison planet, of the grid, of the cage, it is to evolve beyond this place, this reality. When you make voodoo, it's the washing of the hands up to the wrist, and it's between the fingers. Okay, so this thing that I do with the circular motion is voodoo-ish. That may be why I have a knack for it. I have a voodoo aspect to my hands. That's also why I don't have a history of punching people in the head. But I have a history of being hit in the head over 15 times. And as my friend said once, notice how they were trying to hit you in the head over and over. You know, the shaitan force gets into me and I argue because I'm in pain. And I argue with people that have helped me. And then I end up armed and suffering from the shaitan's attack of suicidal ideation. Let me just tell you now, a so-called Muslim doctor poisoned me and believes that it is halal to give dangerous drugs. And I believe that THC in a pure form and a CBD form is halal up the wazoo. It is so spiritual. Okay, and there's a lot of Muslims out there that think that the marijuana is bad, but the alcohol is good, that the fornication with the crazy white woman is good, that the smoking the cigarette is good, of the driving with a sports car and acting like you're Mr. Fancy, Mr. Cool, Mr. Beard. They like the beard, but they go, oh, you're super manly now with the beard. Oh, you're a big man. I noticed they like the big men. They like the big men. They don't like the small men. So, like, they're not in, a lot of Muslim women, they're not in a super spiritual place, and they don't support me standing against the atrocities towards. So, there is a reason, and I'm going to find out what it is, why Islamic women aren't leading the religion. I want to know why that is. I want to know why there aren't Muslim women speaking on the Sufi Realities channel. I brought women onto this channel, but out of those women that I brought on those channel, including the one that I spoke to, you saw me speak to one a couple of months ago, did you not? You don't actually think she respects me, do you? She found me after I went on that national radio show. She's worshiping the former president. She's not going to like a human being like me who has an independent thinking. It's going to be seen as snowflakeish. Any discussion of racism, like they think that's evil to call out their darkness, where they have the KKK in their ancestry. On my mom's side, there's KKK. They came from the South at one point. I'd be curious to talk to that great grandfather and get an idea what he was really like. Admits to traveling to third world countries to rape Mexican boys in the butt. I apologize for the language. But this is really going on. I really was stalked by a man who claimed he did these things to little boys. He stalked me. He watched my channel. He still does. Like, there are really hateful people out there that love the butt love too much in a bad way, that fixate on people that they would love to rape in a jail cell. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And they don't like it when they're called out, and there are evil people that will back them up when they're called out. There is a real network of men that rape children on our planet, and they will back up their own. They will kill to protect what they believe is theirs. And sometimes, folks, they are in police and military, but not all. That is the way of Shaitan. They infiltrate the very organizations and religions that we try to create to set up to fight him, her, it. And this is why secret societies of the light and allegiances against the devil, vows of silence when you're plotting against the evil one. There are people that look down upon taking a vow against evil, and they'll twist it around like that's evil. That's scary, bro. That's not cool. You should take a vow now against evil in your heart. If you can't do that, wow. You need to be able to develop bonds with men and women that you can trust your life with. Who do you know right now who you could trust your life with? If you and me were walking down the street right now and a couple of hoodlums came out around the corner and I ate my Wheaties that morning and I wasn't hungover, not that I normally am, and wasn't screwed up and had an ability to defend you and your child, would you argue with me about my instructions when I tell you get in the car and lock the door? And so my friend who taught me how to punch, even though I have been called a fake boxer or fighter who has never had any official training, that's not true at all. I'm so tired of this bullshit. Anyways, my mom and him were walking in 1982 in the city of my birth, and some thugs walked behind them, and he dropped them. He knocked them both out. And I was just thinking about that the other day. Like, it's really fucked up that people do that stuff to people. Excuse the language. But God don't mind. That people like beat people up and beat women up and beat men up in front of the women and beat the women up in front of the men. And now I see that they are encouraging the men to fight the women. And not only in many ways in which I won't tell you, but in pop-up ads so that it gets the kids. Fight the woman here, fight the man here. And so that is what Shaitan is bringing, this wasteland. Technology, microchips, chat GPT, all different ways of stalking individuals. Now that you have hunted the last animals into extinction, now they give you technology to hunt humans through technology until they are dead. Then where does that leave you? You are being watched by the Creator. Everything that you do is being documented by the angels and demons. What you do to others is going to come back. And the good deeds that I have done for those people in that county and the city of my birth, and the good deeds that I'm going to do for the people in this region, it is going to follow me, folks, into the grave. I'm literally going to get a t-shirt. I am the one that identifies the murderers or the killers or the destroyers of God's creation. Hellfire is coming for the destroyers of God's creation. I'm going to buy the custom t-shirt, and I'm going to take that t-shirt to the gym where the hottie military Latinas work out, because I will not allow myself to have sexual feelings for hot looking women that kill my kind. That is haram. Now, I will straight up declare myself Muslim then, if that's what you want, on a new channel, and I will read the basics of what Islamic is and is not, but I'm not going to be a blind follower as far as like the prayers and the ritual part, the orthodox part. That's not my way. But I'll tell you what is my way. Trying to stay away to the best of my ability from unhealthy things that we see with our eyes, including bad movies. That's not hard for me to do, to stay away from bad, violent movies. But I do watch, I guess, violent movies from the 80s, but they're far less violent. I'm very judgmental. Just so you know, I'm very judgmental of violence in music videos like Knock 'em Dead Kid. I love Motley Crue, but Knock 'em Dead Kid promotes shooting people and killing people. There I am, like shadowboxing to Knock 'em Dead, and I look up at horror, and the dude's killing people. Yep. We're a barbarian race, folks. Species. Not to put down barbarians. We're a Nephilim giant defecation of the giants or something. We're like giant poop. Ew. We've been adulterated. We need to be returned to our pure state. So that's what's coming, folks. War's coming, kidnapping of women's coming, the destruction of the system's coming, and then rape gangs are coming. You know what I foresee coming to this community one day? One day, like right here, there's going to be gangs of people, like men, just trying to protect themselves, hiding behind fences with guns. And there'll be people driving around with people kidnapping people. They'll be in the back of vehicles. They'll be driving down the street, right? I gave a person this a new website where I'm going to talk about local issues. But I'm trying to reach this female and touch her heart, not something else. I'm trying to reach her soul. But she's still new to life. She's young. She's out of high school. What I'm saying is, she doesn't even know yet what spirituality is. And if that's the case, we need to reach the young while they're young before the evil gets to them and turns them. I didn't have a chance when evil came for me because I didn't know any better. And it came for me. And I can never go back and fix it. And I lost my Second Amendment because an evil shaitan came for me. And he led me to drugs at age 18, 19, when I was left by my mother and father. And my parents didn't even understand why I did the drugs or see like the way they raised me as connected to the drug taking. It was in their eyes like I was some, Dr. Evil. Now I have become evil. I have done heroin. I am plotting to rule the world. Like there was never from my mother or father any type of light bulb go off, or they never verbalized it, that they understood that I had trauma. They thought they were angels. They thought that I was broken. They thought they were perfect. And yet, in my opinion, their lives are trash and their health. Not so perfect. Trash in reality. Anti-Christ, anti-God to the fucking max. Worship thyself, worship dance, worship money, worship guns. Even broken guns, that killed animals. Worship welfare, maybe even the president, without even admitting it, and or voting for the president. I certainly know that my dad voted for Biden, and we know that Biden kills Muslims. And so you're not really dealing with a grounded population. It's a psychopathic, rapey population with really angry, vile programming in our DNA. But it can be upgraded with romance. And I know something about real romance and lovemaking. But unfortunately, we are not in a world where the men and women, especially the women, want to make love. And who they want to make love to is usually a giant or a bad boy. Just like I said, I've been trying to visit some of local Muslim grocery stores to meet them. They will not speak to me. And all of the men around them are big. There are no like successful, smaller ones around them. So they are not on the spiritual path. They are not saying Afghan lives matter. They are not exposing Islamophobia. They are censoring posts about Islamophobia. These are people claiming that they're Muslims, yet they have the Dajjal frequency all over their foreheads. These women with their hijabs. They are not trying to help any other Muslims other than themselves. And the crazy thing about it is, they were called ragheads by racists that hated me years ago. One guy in particular, right, called them raghead or rag. It was a defamatory statement, towelhead, something like that, right? And I did megaphone a Muslim group several months ago because they're all about just celebrating and playing video games and shoving their face. And I'm like, why do you not address the fact that Muslims are getting killed and they staged that event and I'm isolated and you guys aren't even a part of raising awareness? He attacked me. He sided then in that case with the Muslims. He previously hated the Muslims. But see, because I am exposing Nazism, I am exposing the anti-white hatred and violence. I'm exposing stuff. He's exposing nothing. And yet he's the one with family, with a woman to make love to him. Yet I have nothing and no one. No woman will even touch my heart. And yet I'm the one that exposes human trafficking. Answer me now, who's the bad man? No woman of my heritage says today or ever now that my life matters and that I should stay alive. If I even suggest to someone that I have suicidal ideation, I get hung up on. My parents failed to destroy me. Okay? And I'm very happy to say that. So this gets very interesting. Voodoo, this voodoo thing is, that's why I do the circular motion. This circular motion is a spiritual act. Wow. I'm concluding this video on this point. This was a good night. Look what. Okay, here. Okay, we'll go ahead and That video that was just on was definitely there for my dad. My dad worships food.
Ready to start your
So the
Discovery
stuff that
journey?
he says, when I start promoting Sufi Realities to my uncle and my dad, they stop talking to me. So now they know that I've accepted the spiritual teachings and I've straight up called them out as jinn control.